Okay, so when we have a look at in situ stress, you'll notice the first thing that appears is a ground surface elevation. Now in my case, I can't edit this number. Why is that? Well, that's because in model construction under topography, I have entered a topography file. So StopeExamine will make all stresses relative to that topography file at all points. So I don't have to put a ground surface elevation here because my ground surface elevation is that pit shape at all points. Under that we have maximum, intermediate and minimum principal stresses. These may be more familiar to you as sigma 1, sigma 2 and sigma 3. All you need to do is enter a stress gradient in megapascals per meters. So this number 0.056 is saying that at 1,000 meters depth, my maximum principal stress will be 0.056 times 1000 or 56 megapascals at that point. So that way FLAC 3D can work out what stress is at any depth if you put this sort of gradient in. You can also enter plunge and trend, the orientation of each of these principal stresses, and the locked in stress is the stress value at a free surface. So at your topography elevation, what should my stress in megapascals be? If I wanted it for some reason to start at 5, I would just enter 5 megapascals here. But in this case, I'm going to start everything at 0, and I'm going to leave all these values as they are right now. Moving on to our last step, solving parameters. We're faced with only 4 options for FLAC 3D solving parameters. We have the total model mining steps. Now this default value here is 10. That would suggest that I have 10 mining steps involved in my model, but you will remember that we have step 1 and step 2 only, so we only have 2 mining steps. You can point FLAC 3D to which is the first step to start solving. So if I did have 10 mining steps and I only wanted to start at step 5, then I could enter 5 here. But we will start at step 1, which was the vertical development. And then how many steps are there to solve? There are 2 total in our case. Additional FLAC 3D solving cycles is the amount of times for each step FLAC 3D will solve to equilibrium. You won't necessarily be able to get this number exactly perfect on your first try. It's a bit of a trial and error sort of number. It's to do with accuracy, and you'll probably want to come back and tinker with it and see what it does to your model. But I'll just leave it as 2000 for now. And then the last thing we have to do is press generate. Now what did that button do? Well, if I now have a look in my working folder, I'm going to see that StopeExamine has created an input file for FLAC 3D, inputfile.se. It will automatically be called that, and it'll automatically be generated in the folder that you've pointed StopeExamine to. Now all that's left to do is open that file up in FLAC 3D and let it run.